Crab cakes, peelers, and hard shells. To many people, that menu sounds delicious, but North Carolina blue crabs may be in trouble. The Division of Marine Fisheries reports the 2004 catch was down almost 25% from the year before. Dr. Tom Linden has more from Bath in the last of our three-part series on North Carolina's estuaries.
It's early morning on the Pamlico River as Tommy Franz prepares for another long workday. Franz is a crabber in Bath, North Carolina's first town. 22 years ago, Franz turned a recreational fishing hobby into a full-time job.
You're your own boss. You work as hard as you want to. You can work as many hours as you want to. It all depends on what you want to get out of it.
Crabbing became a way of life after explorer Giovanni da Verrazzano first set foot on North Carolina's shores in 1524. Since then, fishermen have lived off the waters and land that Verrazzano described as pleasant and delectable to behold as is possible to imagine. Veteran commercial crabber Edward Etheridge fishes out of Manteo. Etheridge has followed the routine seen in this home video for nearly half a century. Over the years, Etheridge has noticed differences in fishing practices.
Everybody nowadays is fishing more crab pots, where previous to that they used just a few pots, 100 or so pots. Now it's developed into 500 pots, 1,000 pots.
Back near Bath, Franz and his partner Donald Rankin haul in 900 crab pots during the peak summer season. The blue crab, whose scientific name means tasty, beautiful swimmer, is the state's most lucrative fishery. The Division of Marine Fisheries reports the crabbing industry netted an average of $36 million annually over the last decade. High demand has increased competition among fishermen.
Of course, the more pots out there, the fewer crabs you're going to catch per pot. But then you need more pots out there to be able to keep up. So it's just a vicious circle, and it's causing a lot of problems.
The state reports a decline in commercial catches over the last decade. In 2004, the catch brought in $12 million less than in 2003. Because of this drop, the state labeled the blue crab stock at a level of concern. This means there's worry over the blue crab's long-term viability. When fishing is slow, so is business for wholesale seafood dealers like Washington Crab and Oyster Company, where Tommy Franz sells his catch by the bushel. Owner of Washington Crab and Oyster, Tony Tripp, earns a big portion of his income from blue crabs.
40% is a large amount of my total business. So anytime production is down, so is my revenue.
You finding any crabs in that sample from the
Professor of Marine Science at North Carolina State University, Dave Eggleston, says a decline in catches reflects a decline in the blue crab population.
We're talking about an animal that is very resilient. It pumps out millions of larvae. When they run out of food, they just start eating each other. They live in fresh water to hypersaline conditions. So, if we can knock a blue crab population down, then we're hitting the environment and the fishery pretty hard.
The fishery was especially hard hit in 1999 when Hurricane Floyd ravaged North Carolina. Floodwaters caused blue crabs to migrate down the river to the saltier waters of Pamlico Sound. At first, this was great news for the crabbers, who scored record-high catches immediately after the storm.
So these crabbers were catching a lot of crabs. It was a very busy time, lucrative fishery in the fall, but because of that incredibly high catch efficiency, we think it reduced the population to a low level that now shows up in the year 2000 and has had a hard time recovering ever since.
Floyd also interfered with the blue crab's life cycle. Floodwaters prevented larvae, like these here, from moving into the estuary to mature. The larvae migrate in the fall from the salty ocean to the less salty estuaries to mature in protected seagrass beds. There, juvenile crabs shed their exoskeletons and grow. The following summer, crabs mate in the estuary. After mating, females migrate back to the ocean to release their eggs, beginning the cycle again.
Oh yeah, just generally fine.
To keep his business afloat, Tripp says crabbers need stricter regulations on what they're pulling from the water. He says fishermen desperate to earn a buck sometimes try to sell him immature crabs.
Bringing that crab to the market is, to me, no advantage. That crab needs to be put back overboard.
But not everyone agrees strictly regulating fishermen is the answer. Director of UNC's Albemarle Ecological Program, William Stott, says the declining population is a complex problem, and he says the simplest thing to control is overfishing.
And I think fishermen wind up feeling very sensitive about that sometimes because they feel scapegoated.
The Pamlico Tar River Foundation says runoff from farming, industry, and residential development pollutes estuaries by dumping nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus into the water. Nutrients encourage the growth of algae, which can deplete the crab's oxygen supply. The Division of Marine Fisheries is taking different stresses on the resource into account. Its Blue Crab Management Plan addresses water quality issues and restricts damaging harvesting practices. But Stott doubts the plan does all it intends.
So the Blue Crab Management Plan is really managing crabbers more than it's managing crabs or the habitat that crabs live in.
But Lynn Henry of the Division of Marine Fisheries says we're not abandoning habitat and water quality issues, but our only authority is to control the users and harvesters of the resource. Opinions may differ on how to handle the decline, but most would say the delicious crab is worth saving. At Salmon Omi's in Nag's Head, diners flow in as steadily as the tide. Edward Etheridge's soft shells are a favorite. Crabber Tommy Franz says if blue crabs continue to decline, fishermen won't be the only ones going hungry.
It's just been a part of North Carolina, and it's going to be a loss of a way of life for many, many people. It's not just the crabbers that are out there. It's the people that make the crab pots. It's the people that sell the bait. It's the people that fish for the bait. There's a lot of people involved. As each fisherman is lost, it's a lot of lives that are changing.
Biologists at NC State are looking at ways to raise blue crabs in hatcheries to supplement catches in estuaries. You can learn more about the state's plans for sustaining the blue crab on the Division of Marine Fisheries website at ncfisheries.net. Photos in this story were taken by Drew C. Wilson, courtesy of the Outer Banks History Center in Manteo. This series was produced in cooperation with the UNC at Chapel Hill School of Journalism and Mass Communication. The production team included Jessica Floyd, Charles Schutte, and Kate Schoen.